40 points.
In 26 minutes.
I mean, just try to wrap your head around the math on that for a second.
Yeah.
Usually if a guy drops 40 in the NBA, it's a grind. It's a full night's work.
Right, 38, maybe 40 minutes of just sweat.
Exactly. To do it in 26 minutes, that's barely more than a sitcom episode. It defies logic.
It really is a statistical anomaly. We see scoring explosions, all the time now, but the sheer density of it, that's what's different here. It wasn't just a hot streak, it was like an avalanche.
An avalanche. That's a good word for it. We are talking about last night, February 10th, 2026. Spurs versus the Lakers at Crypto.com Arena.
And the final score was Spurs 136, Lakers 108. A total blowout.
A blowout, yeah. But if you just look at that score, you are missing the real story. Because this game wasn't just a win. It felt like a hinge point. Like you had these two massive narratives just crashing into each other.
A total collision of the future and the past. And I mean that in a very, very literal sense. On one end, you have Victor Wembanyama doing things that, haven't been done in 70 years.
And on the other?
On the other, you have the official mathematical end of an era for LeBron James.
That's the headline right there. The king is finally dethroned.
And not by a player, but by, what, a rule book.
Cool rule book.
So, okay, here's the mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to recap the box score. We need to figure out what this one night tells us about where the league is actually heading.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the ESPN reports, the raw game data, post-game pressers. We need to make sense of Wembanyama's greed, his word, not mine. And we have to talk about this 65-game rule that just claimed its biggest victim.
It raises some really uncomfortable questions about how we define value. Are we rewarding the best players or, just the ones who can survive the schedule?
Right. But before we get to the heavy stuff, the administrative debate, we have to talk about the fireworks.
Oh, we have to. Victor Wembanyama. I watched the highlights this morning, and it felt like a varsity player dropping into a middle school recess game. But help me contextualize this efficiency. 40 points in 26 minutes. How does that actually happen?
Well, it starts with an absolute refusal to waste any motion. If you look at his shot chart, he wasn't forcing anything. He shot 13 of 20.
That's good.
4 of 6 from deep, missed only 2 free throws. But here's the kicker. He also adds 12 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block.
And he didn't play a second of the fourth quarter.
Not a single second. Sat the entire final period.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here a little bit. We see inflated stats all the time now. Is this really that historic, or is it just a great night in a really fast-paced league?
No, this is historically significant. We dug into the ESPN research archives for this in the shot clock era. So we're talking since 1954.
Okay.
This is only the 5th time a player scored 40 points in 26 minutes or less.
55th time in 70 years.
In 70 years, yes. And the context matters. I mean, the game in 1955 looked so different. For a player Wembanyama's size, 7'4", to do this with perimeter skill, it's just unique.
Wow.
He also joined Patrick Ewing as the only player to record a 40-point double-double in that specific time frame.
And Ewing was just a beast in the paint.
Exactly. A total beast. Wembanyama was doing it from everywhere.
It's that versatility that gets me. But beyond the numbers, there was this vibe shift in the game. You read his post-game comments, and he didn't sound like a guy who was just happy. He sounded almost, predatory.
He used the word greed.
Yeah, that stuck out to me. You gotta have the greed.
It's a fascinating look into his psychology. He openly said he wanted to go back in.
I saw that.
Yeah, there was a moment in the fourth quarter, the game is already over, where he stands up and sort of jokingly jogs to the scorer's table.
Just to give his coach a heart attack. Popovich probably didn't think it was very funny.
Probably not. But the quote was really telling. He said, I was pushing to go back. Every game you have to have this greed to want more. He gets that teams are trying to stop him every night, so when the door is open, he wants to kick it down.
But the Spurs held him back, and they've got a back-to-back against Golden State.
Right. And to his credit, Wembanyama acknowledged that. He said the team did the right thing by resting him. So there's a maturity there. He wants the 50-point night, but he gets the long game.
And speaking of the long game, or I guess the short game, that first half, that's where all the damage was done. 25 points in the first quarter.
He missed 1 shot.
1.
He went 8 of 9 in the first quarter.
That's just demoralizing for a defense, isn't it?
It basically ended the game before it really began. By halftime, he had 37 points.
Which broke the Spurs franchise record for points and a half.
Yes. Think about the names in that franchise's history.
Tim Duncan, Tony Parker.
George Gervin. David Robinson.
The Admiral.
The Admiral, exactly. Gervin had a 33-point half. Robinson had 28. Wembanyama puts up 37. The Spurs were up by 29 at the break because one guy just decided to outscore everyone.
Okay, so we've established Wembanyama was incredible. But I need to pump the brakes for just a second.
Okay.
A performance like this doesn't happen in a vacuum. You need a partner in this dance. And in this case, the partner was the Lakers defense. Or the lack thereof.
That is the critical context we absolutely cannot ignore. To be fair, we have to look at who was actually on the floor for L.A.
Because it wasn't the Lakers that we all think of.
No, not at all. It was a skeleton crew. They were missing their entire starting lineup, all 5 guys.
Walk us through the infirmary report. Who was out?
Well, obviously LeBron James, and we'll get to the implications of that. He's got left foot arthritis.
Right.
Then Luka Dončić, who's now a Laker. He's out with a hamstring strain. Austin Reeves has a calf issue. Marcus Smart, an ankle. And then DeAndre Ayton was a late scratch with some knee soreness.
So Wembanyama wasn't dropping 40 on Anthony Davis.
No. He was doing it against the second unit, guys on two-way contracts, and rotation players who were forced into starting roles.
Showed.
Oh, it really showed. The communication was non-existent. Reports called it maybe their worst defensive showing of the whole season. They gave up 47 points in the first quarter.
47 points in 12 minutes. That's a total layup line.
It was. You could just see the confusion.
Yeah.
Wembanyama would roll to the rim, and 2 Lakers defenders would just kind of hesitate, look at each other, and by then he's already hanging on the rim.
And you'd expect the veterans who were playing to step up, right? Someone like Rui Hachimura.
And that's the big disappointment for Lakers fans. Hachimura had a golden opportunity to be the #1 option, and instead, he shot 3 for 12, finished with 6 points.
Ooh.
Yeah. When your stars are out, you need the next man up to actually stand up, and that just did not happen.
So you get this perfect storm. You have Wembanyama, who literally said he wanted to prove a point about not playing down to the competition. And then you have a Lakers team that was basically holding open auditions.
Precisely. Wembanyama saw blood in the water. He even mentioned the Spurs have this bad habit of relaxing when they see the other team's stars are out. He wanted to show them, no, this is when we bury them.
Point taken, Victor. But while his night was all about presence, about dominating, the other massive story is about accents.
The 65-game rule.
Yeah, this is the heavy stuff. Because by sitting out this game, LeBron James didn't just miss a random Tuesday night. He crossed a threshold he can't come back from.
He hit the mathematical wall. This was his 18th missed game of the season. And under the current CBA, a player has to play in at least 65 games to be eligible for major awards.
Specifically All-NBA.
Specifically All-NBA.
Yeah.
So even if he plays every single remaining game this season, the absolute max he can get to is 64.
Wow. And the consequences of this, they're historic.
They are. LeBron James has made an All-NBA team for 21 consecutive seasons. That is a record that might never be touched again. And that streak didn't end because he wasn't good enough. It ended because of a clause in a contract.
That just feels, I don't know, anticlimactic, doesn't it? It feels like such a technicality.
It does, but it's a technicality with a purpose.
Yeah.
The league brought in this rule to stop load management. They wanted to make sure the stars that fans pay to see are actually on the court.
But now we're seeing the blunt force of that rule.
We really are. And it's sparking a huge debate. You have the coaches weighing in. J.J. Redick, the Lakers coach, he did not seem thrilled about it.
What was his take?
Redick's stance is that the 65-game mark should be guidance for voters, not a hard line. He argued that the voters are smart enough to factor in availability.
Right.
In the past, if a guy only played 50 games, he usually wouldn't make first team anyway unless he was, undeniably the best player on the planet that year.
So Redick wants nuance, he wants context. The rule book is just black and white.
Right. But then you get the counter-argument from Mitch Johnson, the Spurs coach.
Yeah.
And I think his point is valid, too. He supports the intention of the rule. He called playing 82 games a skill.
The best ability is availability.
That's it. Johnson's point is that surviving the travel, the back-to-backs, the physical pounding, that's a demand of the job. And if you can't meet it, maybe you shouldn't get the top honors.
It's a real philosophical divide. But here's where it gets kind of ironic. We just spent all this time talking about how dominant Wembanyama is. But this rule actually got him last year, didn't it?
It did. People forget this. His rookie year, Wembanyama led the league in blocks. He was a defensive terror. But he only played 46 games because the Spurs were being super cautious with him.
So despite being maybe the best defender in the league?
He was ineligible for Defensive Player of the Year.
So the rule punishes the old guard trying to preserve their bodies And it punishes the young stars whose teams are trying to protect their future assets.
It creates a really strange incentive structure. And it's not just LeBron. The report mentioned Luka Dončić is walking a tightrope right now, too.
Yeah, Luka's in the danger zone.
He's missed 11 games. He can only miss 6 more for the rest of the season. And he's dealing with a hamstring strain.
Which are notoriously tricky.
Very tricky. They linger. If he tweaks it again, or if the Lakers decide to rest him for a week to get him healthy for the playoffs, he could fall short of 65 games, too.
And for anyone listening who doesn't follow the salary cap stuff, this isn't just about a trophy. For a guy like Luka, making All-NBA triggers huge financial incentives, supermax eligibility.
There are tens of millions of dollars tied to that number. 65. It affects legacies and bank accounts. Imagine the Lakers finish the season with 2 top 10 players, LeBron and Luka, and neither makes an All-NBA team just because of games played.
It just distorts the history books. Decades from now, someone's going to look at the 2026 All-NBA roster and think, oh, I guess LeBron and Luka weren't that good that year.
When that couldn't be further from the truth. It just complicates how we remember the game.
Yeah.
We're legislating participation, but we might be sacrificing accuracy.
And yet, the fans want to see the stars play. It's the eternal conflict of the NBA.
It is.
So speaking of fans, let's go back to the arena for a minute. The game is a blowout. The stars are in street clothes. If I'm a Lakers fan, I'm probably heading for the parking lot in the third quarter. But if you stayed, you actually got to look at something interesting. The baby Lakers, or at least the reserves, was there anything salvageable?
There was some silver linings, yeah. Just because the blowout meant the bench got extended minutes, and we have to talk about Bronny James.
He got 25 minutes of runtime.
He did. Put up 12 points, 3 assists, a block. A solid line. But there was one specific play that tells you more about him than the scoring.
The charge.
The charge. Earlier in the game, you've got Wembanyama, all 7'4" of him, coming down the lane, and Bronny just slides over, plants his feet, and takes a hit.
That is a business decision most people would not make.
It shows toughness and a high basketball IQ. He didn't try to outjump the alien, he just beat him to the spot. The crowd went nuts for that. It's those little winning plays that coaches really look for.
Absolutely. You can't teach that kind of fearlessness. Who else made a case for themselves?
Drew Timey had a nice night, 14 points. He had this really crafty spin move on Kelly Olynyk that got the bench on their feet. Time is basically fighting for his life in the league, so these minutes are his audition tape. Yeah. He showed he's got the footwork.
He's always been a technician down low. What about the shooting? Luke Kennard.
That was the frustration point. Kennard scored 14, which looks fine on paper, but the analysis was pretty critical of his aggression. He's one of the best shooters in the world statistically.
Yeah.
And the first half, when the team was desperate for offense, he only attempted 1 3-pointer.
You can't be shy when you're the designated sniper.
Exactly. When LeBron and Luka are out, Luke Kennard needs to be hunting shots, not deferring. Passive play doesn't help when you're down 30.
And there was one feel-good moment, right, with Duth Hero.
Yeah, Duth Hero returned from a long layoff, an MCL injury that caused him 21 games. He only played 9 minutes, but he caught a highlight alley-oop dunk. Just seeing him moving freely, trusting that knee again, that's a win.
So we've got a few bright spots on the bench, a historic beatdown by Wemby, and a pretty solemn milestone for LeBron. When you step back and look at this game, what's the big takeaway? It just feels like we're watching a changing of the guard, but it's messy.
It is messy. It's a tale of 2 trajectories. You've got Wembanyama entering his prime, combining size and skill in a way that just breaks our understanding of efficiency. He's the future, and he's greedy for it.
And then you have the reality of this 65-game rule acting as the gatekeeper to history.
Right. And that leaves us with, I think, a really provocative thought for you to chew on. We just praised Wembanyama for sitting the fourth quarter. It was smart load management, right? Staying fresh.
Of course.
But that same smart management is exactly what the league is fighting against with guys like LeBron.
That's true. If Wemby had played the fourth, maybe he gets 60, maybe 70. And we, the fans, missed out on seeing that.
Exactly. So the question is, are we entering an era where greatness is defined differently? Does this 65-game rule actually identify the best players or just the most available ones? And as fans, would we rather see Wembanyama play 65 games at 80% or 50 games at that level of greed we saw last night?
That is the trade-off. We want the peaks, but the league demands consistency. And I don't think there's an easy answer. But last night, the rule book won.
It certainly did.
Well, there you have it. A night of 40-point blitzes and the end of a 21-year streak. If you haven't seen the highlights of Wembanyama yet, go find them. It's worth your time just to see the physics of it all. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Always a pleasure.
Check the box score, but make sure you read the footnotes,